Okay, welcome guys. So in our last video, we looked at the generic way of defining a list, working with lists. But in this video, we are going to look at the constructor way of generating a list. So you can initialize a list, say var my list equals an empty list, okay, and then later add items, okay, add something. This works as well, but this is not what we are going to look at. This is absolutely fine, you can do it, but what we are going to do is we are going to define a list which is going to be type of, say, string, and I'm just going to call it my list, and it's going to be equal to a new. So we use the new keyword because we are going to construct a list. So the constructor comes in list of strings, then we close it with this. Okay, so we get, okay, so this was, if you are running on an older version of that, this is how you would initialize a new list. But then this is deprecated in the current list. So if you go on it, it tells you list is deprecated and stuff. However, if you are running on an older version, then you can use this. So what you do is, if since you are initializing an empty list, we can say list dot empty, okay, then we have a new empty list. So this is the constructor method. So we have a list made up of strings, and since we've specified that it's going to be strings, we cannot add anything that is not a string. So I can say my list dot add and add some integer value. It's not going to work, but I can say dot to string, and then it's absolutely fine because I've converted this integer to string. Okay, so I can add this if I want. I can add, so my list dot add, then Jane. Okay, I can do my list dot insert, then index of, say, 1, then element, I want to say just element, then I can do my list dot remove, sorry, then I'll remove, may say 1 2 3. Okay, then I can find the length of my list, so I can say my list dot length. So if I say, let me just print as print my list dot length. If I run this, okay, so there are other types of lists you can work with. We have the list. So when you do a list dot, we have an empty, which global is false. So when it's empty, meaning everything you do is going to remain empty, meaning you can't add or remove because it's just an empty list. We have the filled, which you can fill with some kind of values. We have the from, so you iterate through some kind of generic list. Then you can generate from a function, and you can use the of, which is going to iterate through some values. Then you can use the unmodifiable, which is going to give you a list, but you can't modify it. So basically that is all there is to use about the generate method, so you can just pass in some function and then iterate through your values and variables. But I'm going to leave the list as empty as this, where you can do all your basic stuff. If you want, you can use the old method as well, which is just going to say list of string. Then you can say, you can ignore this. So ignore this, you can just add this, right? So it just doesn't have anything. Okay, so this could work for you if you want to use the old traditional way, or you can just do maybe var my list equals list. Okay, which would also require that you ignore the deprecated warning. Okay, so you can just hover over it, come to quick fixes and say ignore the deprecated use for this line. Okay, you see this would work, but it still comes with its own kind of errors and other stuff. Okay, so what you can do is you can use the growable list. Okay, so let's say I want to change this, so I can do a list of say strings dot field. Then I want to say 500 starting from 0. Now pass global equals true. Okay, so here, since I'm using a string, I just have to change this to some string, so I can say something. Okay, so when we add this, if we add this, then we can do all of this. Okay, so if I run this, it's not going to return anything because I didn't print anything. So I can print, say the length, which is going to be my list dot length, and I get 502. Okay, the reason why I'm getting 502 is because I've added 1, 2, 3, but I've removed 1, and then I said it should be filled by 500, so I can say it should be filled with 0. Okay, so if I run this again, I get just 2. Okay, because I added 3 and I removed 1. Okay, so this is a nice way of generating a list by the constructor. You can use any other formats. So we have the field, the list, and the generic way of doing things, and then the old ways, which is going to be some errors, but I think you should stay current with yourself. So use either the field, we have the generates, other stuff. So I'll leave a link where you can check out how to use the other methods, but this is the best way to generate it. However, you can change this to false, and if you change this to false, you can't add anything, okay, because you've asked your list to remain mutable. It should remain the same as you generated it. It can't add on to anything because you said it shouldn't grow, but that's not how a list should be. You should be able to grow. Now the good thing with this is I specify that it should start filling from 0. You can start filling from say 4. It doesn't matter, depends on what your need is. Okay, so that is the constructor way of generating a list. In the next video, we are going to talk about something different. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support this channel. Thank you, and see you in another video.